Married to my nemesis. Year 3. Once again. He openly brought up his latest fling in front of me. You remember the campus belle from our college, right? She's prettier than you and more talented too. Isn't that annoying? Not only is she soft and delicate, but she has a lovely voice. I reflexively snapped. A spoiled brat like you? You think you deserve her? He grinned playfully, teasing me. What? You won't allow it? She threw herself into my arms and confessed last night. He watched me closely, expecting a reaction. In the past, this would have sparked a 3-day war between us. This time, I said nothing. I simply stood up and said calmly, in that case, let's divorce. Turns out I've found someone I like too. Chapter 1. The crescent moon hung in the sky, cold and detached. Its chill slowly devoured the warmth rising from the dinner plates. The smile froze on Bruno's lips. After a beat, he scoffed and slouched back into the sofa, long legs casually crossed. You're jealous, aren't you? If you made up a fake guy just to provoke me, it's a shame you lost. He leaned in close, staring into my eyes with mockery. Are those tears? Are you finally admitting you love me? If you beg me, maybe, just maybe, I'll reject her for you. My chest tightened. It was embarrassing to be exposed by someone who knew me too well. I turned my head away and shot back coldly. She dumped you and went abroad 3 years ago. Now she's back and you're following her around like a puppy, afraid no one knows you're her simp? Jessica. The name came out like a curse. His eyes turned ice cold, his voice full of warning. He slammed his glass on the table, the sharp sound slicing through the silence. Then suddenly, he chuckled, as if remembering something amusing. That same arrogant smile returned. And what about you? He sneered. My little plaything I once saved? He took a slow sip of wine, lifting his brow mockingly. My face turned pale. My heart felt as if it were being crushed in his grip. My knuckles turned white against the table. We knew each other too well, and we despised each other just as much. We knew exactly where to stab to hurt the most. I kept my face cold, biting out the words. So let's get divorced. You can go chase your white moonlight, and I'll go find my red mole. I won't be in your way. The laziness vanished from his body, replaced by fury. He stood abruptly, the chair screeching across the floor. His tall frame loomed over me. What did you say? Say it again. I inhaled slowly and met his gaze. Are you deaf? Or just stupid? Want me to recommend a doctor? I said we are getting divorced. Devor said. Did you hear that clearly? His eyes were bloodshot, chest heaving. You're all thorns, and only I can take it. If you're jealous, just admit it. Why is it so hard for you to bend a little? I felt a chill creep into my bones. I let out a cold laugh. You're overthinking it. I really do like someone else. Don't you remember? In junior year, I told you, if you were the last man on earth, I still wouldn't like you. Bruno laughed from rage, his gaze frozen with mockery. Fine, divorce it is. I've never wronged you. Don't come begging me to take you back. I'll be disgusted. He stormed into the bedroom, slamming the door. I numbly stood and threw away every dish I had cooked. Yes, he really had never wronged me. And that, ironically, was the saddest part. I should probably thank him for enduring the disgust long enough to marry me. Chapter 2. The summer I turned 7. The smell of dirt and grass mixed in the air. Bruno and I were just kids, shoved together by our parents to play in the mud. He accidentally destroyed the castle I had painstakingly built, and I wasn't about to let that slide. I grabbed him by the collar and shoved him face first into the mud pile. We wrestled and bickered, rolling around in the damp muck. He yanked out my perfectly braided hair, and I tore apart his custom-tailored dress shirt. At that age, girls matured faster, and I basically had him pinned and helpless. Ugly monster, mud freak, can't build castles, only destroy them, blah blah blah. He gritted his teeth, fists clenched. Crybaby, dumb pig, next time, I'll beat you for sure. We fought like this all the way through childhood. By high school, he'd grown tall like a spring willow, jawline sharp and cold, leaning lazily against the hallway wall. He carried this air of aloof arrogance. I couldn't stand it. I stomped right on his foot, His carefully constructed pose collapsed instantly as he winced and hopped in pain. Clutching his foot, he glared at me while jumping around. What the hell? You ruined my moment. I crossed my arms, completely unfazed. What decent girl would fall for you anyway? Quit acting like Prince Charming, you're fooling yourself. Thanks to that one stomp, his first love fell through. He held a grudge and, when I wasn't looking, secretly squeezed wasabi into the chocolates I made for my senior crush. Scared him off too. We couldn't stand each other and made sure to ruin things whenever the other had a crush. Until junior year of college, when he fell for the department beauty, Fiona. He came to make peace for the first time in his life, squatting outside my dorm, pleading nonstop. Auntie, this time it's true love. Please, let me off the hook. If it works out, I'll do anything you say. It was the first time he'd ever bowed his head to me. I froze. Clutching the love letter in my hand, he noticed my expression shift, and slapped my shoulder with a cheeky grin. What's wrong? You falling for me now? Guess I still got it. Huh. When I didn't reply right away, his playful grin faltered. He pressed his hands together like he was praying. Wait, don't tell me it's true. Don't like me, seriously. We're way too close. Just the thought of us in bed makes me want to puke. Even if you were naked in front of me, I wouldn't feel a thing. Then, as if horrified by his own thought, he shuddered dramatically and even pulled his hand off my shoulder in disgust. His words were like an ice pick, hacking through my heart, drawing blood with each strike. I lowered my eyes. When I looked up again, my face was full of scorn. Who said I like you? I'm not blind. Then who's this letter for? He asked, grinning wickedly as he leaned in close. His breath brushed my ear, ticklish. I swallowed hard and quickly answered. Ryan, the school hunk. Yeah, I like Ryan. He's way more handsome than you. I nodded firmly, like I was convincing myself the more I said it. Good. He let out a relieved chuckle. Your type's not mine anyway. Too stubborn, too sharp-tongued. I stiffened. Something bitter bubbled in my chest. I opened my mouth, eyes stinging with anger. I kicked him hard. I don't like you either. You're just some spoiled rich brat. Even if you were the last man on earth, I still wouldn't fall for you. All right, as long as you don't, we'll always be the perfect mortal enemies. He smiled, relaxed, letting me kick him as much as I wanted. Ow, still so violent. He muttered through a wince. While I wasn't paying attention, he snatched the now creased love letter from my hand. I'll give this to him for you. Consider it a thank you for not kicking me harder. Chapter 3. Everything changed 3 years ago. The real heiress, Miranda, was finally found, and it turned out I was the fake daughter. A mistake made by the hospital. Overnight, I buried my temper and learned to be obedient and agreeable. I just wanted to keep my place in the family. The day Miranda returned, Mom held my hand and said with a warm, heavy tone, Jessica, you're just getting a younger sister. Nothing else will change. I believed her. I tried hard to get along with Miranda, tried to make her happy, but one night, when I got up to use the bathroom, I overheard her clinging to Mom's arm, sweetly whining, Mom, my sister's had it good for so many years, it's only fair she gives back to the family now. Why not marry her off to some rich heir? I've suffered enough, and it hurts to see her living so well. I ran back to my room in a panic, too afraid to hear the rest. I curled up in bed, repeating to myself over and over, Mom wouldn't do that to me. But the next day, at the banquet announcing Miranda as the true daughter of the family, Mom pushed me toward a balding businessman in his 40s. Jessica, Hudson's quite well off. Go talk to him. Her intent to matchmake was obvious. Hudson's eyes were sticky and cold, like a snake's, slithering all over me. I felt disgusted, but forced a polite smile, trying to find an excuse to slip away. Before I could, he wrapped an arm around my waist, his lustful gaze landing right on my chest. My entire body stiffened. Goosebumps rose all over. Behind me, my parents ignored it all, smiling as they introduced Miranda to their high society guests. A deep chill gripped my heart. I gave up resisting and numbly poured wine for him. The next second, my pale, trembling hand was seized by someone else. I looked up and fell into Bruno's lazy, amused gaze. His tone was casual, almost indifferent, but full of authority. No need for that. Since your family wants a marriage alliance, I'll marry her. The room fell into silence. He gave Hudson a cold glance and pulled me into his arms. As he wrapped around me, he even sneered, "That fake business smile of yours is awful." That night, in front of both families, he promised long-term cooperation and swore never to let me down. I felt dazed. All I remembered was the subtle scent of lemon sea salt on him. Fresh, gentle, like spring water in a desert, cooling, healing, life-saving. After the banquet, under a dim yellow street lamp, he stood holding a cigarette glowing faintly at the tip. He looked down, expression unreadable in the shadows. I couldn't help but ask, "You're marrying me, what about the one you truly love?" He looked up and grinned like nothing mattered. "She left me, went abroad. Marrying you? Well, fighting with you till the end of time doesn't sound bad." My heart skipped. Amid the surprise, a quiet bitterness bloomed. We got married, but I knew he was settling. He was also saving me. I offered to sleep in separate rooms and never meddled in his private life. He gave me dignity and respect, always taking me to public events. At home, we argued constantly, bickered while eating, while watching TV, even while house hunting. We fought over home decor, mocked each other's tastes, yet somehow still managed to create a space that felt like ours. We could have gone on like that forever, quarreling through life. But now, Fiona had returned from abroad. He started coming home later and later. The woman at his side changed from me to her. He mentioned her more and more in front of me, testing my reaction, tearing through the illusion of our marriage. Because of how dazzling she was back in junior year, he waited for her 3 full years. He remembered every word she said, every preference she had. He spent a fortune bidding on an expensive sapphire, just to make her smile. He'd share her dreams and talents with me as if I were his best friend. There was no hiding how much he admired her. The night she left the country, he got drunk and collapsed at my feet, sobbing into a bottle. It's because I've seen what it looks like when he truly loves someone, that I now clearly understand how unloved I am. His warmth, nervous excitement, his tenderness, those are hers. His sarcasm, mockery, and cruelty, those are mine. I numbly cleared the last plate from the table. Spicy prawns, his favorite. Today, 3 years ago, we officially got married. It seems like I'm the only one who remembers. Maybe I never should have remembered in the first place. Now that things have fallen apart, walking away might be the only way to preserve some dignity. Chapter 4. I returned to my room, opened the hidden compartment in the wardrobe, and slowly wrote in the yellowed, wrinkled pages of my old diary. July 10th, 2028. I want to end this. A wave of sorrow and exhaustion overwhelmed me, and I finally released the long-suppressed frustration in my chest. That night, I packed my bags and asked my best friend to pick me up. Before leaving, I glanced back at the tightly closed bedroom door. My tense heart sank once again. What was I still hoping for? That he would suddenly give up his beloved white moonlight and fall for me, his thorny lifelong nemesis? I gave a bitter laugh and quietly walked away. As soon as I got into the car, the sky began to drizzle. Inside, my best friend looked at me with concern. "It's been over 10 years. Are you really ready to let go?" My eyes stared blankly ahead. The scenery outside blurred into vague shadows as it sped past. After a long silence, I said hoarsely, "There's nothing I can't let go of." She let out a deep sigh. "They say a secret crush is a one-person war, and you've been at war for more than 10 years. Why didn't you ever tell him? What if he liked you back? Why didn't I tell him?" I looked at the raindrops dotting the car window. I couldn't help but recall every time he said "don't like me." Playful, teasing, serious, mocking, those words tangled together and became the sharpest memory of all. My youthful feelings had been twisted with fights, pride, and unspoken longing, until they were strangled to death by a fragile, oversensitive ego and left to rot in some forgotten corner. I shook my head and smiled with relief. Forget it. I don't want it anymore. I want someone whose eyes are filled only with me. Someone who feels joy and surprise just because I like them. It was just a casual remark, but my best friend took it seriously. A month later, she set me up with a blind date and insisted I go meet him. Just treat it like meeting a new friend. Take your mind off things. Come on, go. Before I left, she even winked mysteriously at me. When I arrived at the mall and saw who was waiting, I froze, stammering, "Senior?" Ryan wore a well-fitted suit. He stood tall, poised, and radiated a warm and refined charm. He smiled gently. "Sorry I didn't tell you in advance." Embarrassed, I looked down, suddenly remembering the time I used him as a cover, and felt awkward guilt. I didn't know how my friend had contacted him, so I rushed to explain about what happened back then. I hesitated, unsure how to continue. He sensed my discomfort and gently took over the conversation, furrowing his brows as he recalled. "Oh, so it was you who wrote that letter? Too bad. By the time Bruno gave it to me, it was already soaked. I never got to read it." I sighed quietly in relief. It wasn't anything important. He looked down at me, warmth in his eyes. "Then, would you like to walk with me for a bit?" I nodded in a daze, and we strolled through the mall side by side. He was thoughtful and considerate at every turn. When we reached the rooftop restaurant, I looked through the glass and saw Bruno. He had a faint smile and was watching someone across the table with focused eyes. Across from him sat Fiona in a white dress, and Miranda, dressed to the nines. Miranda smiled with her lips curled, talking animatedly and making Fiona laugh nonstop. Bruno just sat there quietly, watching them, his expression filled with warmth. Suddenly, my whole body felt cold. My fingertips froze. So they'd already become this close behind my back? Even though Miranda once hurt me, he could still laugh so freely, so naturally, like it meant nothing. I felt dizzy and nauseous. Before his eyes could find mine, I grabbed Ryan's arm and walked away. I didn't want any more connections to him. But just as we stepped into the elevator, the doors were forcefully pulled open. Clearly, someone had run to catch us. His voice was breathless and urgent. "Jessica, where have you been lately? I called you, but you didn't." He stopped abruptly when he saw Ryan standing beside me. His eyes turned red, his voice hoarse and resentful. "You're holding his hand? You're divorcing me, for him?" Chapter 5. A surge of rage suddenly exploded. I kicked him in the knee. "Get lost! I don't want to see you!" He gasped in pain, eyes turning even redder, yet still refused to let go. "Explain it clearly." "I'm not leaving." "Do you really like him? Are you really going to divorce me?" The more he spoke, the raspier his voice became, filled with endless grievance. I was so furious my head was spinning. He had the nerve to feel wronged? I didn't care we were still in public. I pointed right at his nose and let him have it. "Yes, I do like him. He's better looking than you and way more gentle. Doesn't that piss you off?" Seeing his face turn pale only made me feel more triumphant. I got even more fired up. "You were simping for Fiona. What right do you have to criticize me for liking someone else? You got the divorce papers ages ago, didn't you? Stop dragging your feet. Sign them and let's get this over with." "What? Are you gonna start simping for me now?" "Sorry, I don't need another dog." The more I yelled, the more fired up I got. "And you know exactly how Miranda treated me. Yet you stayed close to her. You pushed me to Hudson, told Mom and Dad I was jealous and scheming, accused me of stopping her from coming home, and even let her pour red wine on me in public. Do I have to repeat every single thing she did to me?" Being forced to reopen old wounds made my eyes burn red with rage. 3 years ago, when I married Bruno, I thought my parents would finally stop resenting me, but I never imagined Miranda's malice would run that deep. No matter how obvious the setup, my parents would always take her side, make me apologize, make me bow my head. After enough times, I stopped hoping or struggling. In 3 years of marriage, Bruno was the only one who stood behind me. No matter how much we argued, he always believed in me, understood me. He knew how much I had suffered. But just because Miranda was friends with Fiona, he chose to sit beside Miranda and listen to her laugh with tenderness. Even though I met him first, even though I've known him for over a decade, now he's chosen the opposite side. I wiped the tears at the corners of my eyes, calmed myself down, and said coldly, "All right. I've said my piece. You can get lost now." Bruno froze, and anxiously tried to explain, "There are some things between prestigious families that can't just be cut off." I shot him a cold look, not even bothering to expose his pathetic excuses. His eyes turned red. He reached out to grab me, visibly panicked. It's not like that. It's not what you think. Everything's gotten so messed up. Let me explain. I didn't want to hear a word. I pried his fingers off and shoved him out of the elevator with force, then slammed the button to make it leave. Chapter 6. Inside the elevator. The air suddenly fell silent. After venting all my anger, I finally remembered that Ryan was still standing beside me. Just moments ago I had once again shamelessly used him as a shield. Feeling guilty, I stole a glance at him. His handsome brows were tightly furrowed, and there was a deep worry in his eyes. I bit my lower lip and awkwardly apologized. I'm sorry. I lost control. What I just said. I know. It's all right. He gently interrupted me. He looked at me softly, but in his gaze there was a quiet, burning heat that brushed against my heart, making it tremble. He handed me a tissue. Our fingertips brushed, carrying a faint warmth. His eyes flickered, and he quickly drew his hand back with restraint. His voice slightly hoarse. Let me take you home. We had originally planned to eat at the rooftop restaurant, but with Bruno's interruption, I'd lost the mood and the energy. When we got to the car, he told me to wait inside. The cool air conditioning helped me relax a little. Through the window I saw him running toward me, holding a strawberry sundae. When you're feeling down, something sweet like this will make you feel a lot better. The August sun was still blazing. Beads of sweat dotted his forehead, and even his neatly pressed suit shirt had wrinkled from his run. My heart gave a small jump as I took it from him in a daze. Whenever I'm upset, I always get a sundae to cheer myself up, and it has to be strawberry. How did he know? I thanked him, guessing my best friend must have betrayed my secret. Either way, I ate happily, and my mood lightened considerably. When we arrived home, his hands tightened slightly on the steering wheel. He drew in a barely perceptible deep breath, and his gentle, low voice carried a faint tremor. Jessica, I know saying this now might be a bit sudden, but I don't want to miss the chance to finally take you out on a date. My hand froze on the door handle, my heart tightening. He paused slightly, then continued slowly and earnestly. I'm running my own business now. I have some assets. I can protect the people and things I care about. I'm not a reckless man. My feelings for you are serious, and they're certain. I'm not good at sweet talk, but I can promise you this, if I can stand by your side. My eyes will always follow only you, and my time and energy will always lean toward you. A faint blush crept across his face. I'm saying this just to fight for a chance, for you to consider me as an option. That alone would be enough. Chapter 7. When I got home, I was completely dazed. My best friend, however, immediately came over, eyes sparkling with gossip, wiggling her brows at me. Well, how was it? I struggled to answer. Just now, it felt like he confessed to me. Oh wow, this guy's good. Not for nothing he's been waiting for you for 4 years, my best friend said, cracking sunflower seeds and grinning from ear to ear. I froze completely, stunned. What? What 4 years? She blinked, even more shocked than I was. What? He didn't tell you? At that she even stopped eating seeds, rushed in front of me, and began to chatter about the past. Through her words, I slowly pieced together a new truth. Maybe it was pride in that love letter. I hadn't written Bruno's name, nor signed my own. I just wanted to test his attitude. That way, if he rejected me, I could still claim it was someone else's letter. But in reality, that love letter had been handed directly to Ryan by Bruno, who told him plainly it was from me. Ryan had gone to the school lake at the time specified in the letter and waited all night for me. That was right when Miranda had been brought back home, and all kinds of things were crushing me. I was busy pleasing my sister, busy smiling at banquets. I'd asked my counselor for a long leave, and completely forgot about the love letter. In short, my best friend went on. He'd noticed you a long time ago, but he was probably insecure. Back then you were the hot socialite of Beijing's elite circles. He could only secretly like you. When he got your love letter, he was overjoyed. He waited all night in vain, only to find out you weren't even at school. Who would have thought this guy's feelings ran so deep? When he heard you and Bruno were on the outs, he kept begging me to help him, to give him a chance. I felt a little lost. But he never said any of this to me. What did he say just now? I hesitated. He just said he wanted me to give him a chance. My best friend clicked her tongue in amazement, then sighed theatrically like a wise elder. It's rare to find a guy this devoted. Do you want him? If not, I might take him myself. I playfully pushed her shoulder but didn't reply. Inside, it felt like thousands of threads were tangling together, dense, inexplicable, wistful and a little sour. Bruno had somehow found out I was staying at my best friend's place and had been waiting downstairs for days. On the 5th day, I couldn't stand it anymore and went down to see him. I spoke impatiently. How much longer are you going to keep blocking me? You're already disturbing my best friend's commute. You know? Bruno, unusually, didn't argue back. His eyes were slightly red, his gaze greedy yet cautious as it landed on me. I'm here to explain. Let's not get divorced, all right? I didn't reply, arms crossed, watching his performance coldly. His Adam's apple bobbed. His deep, dry voice carried a trace of moisture. When I married you back then, I was serious. I truly thought spending a lifetime with you would be pretty good. I never treated you as a fling. What I said that day was just out of anger. When Fiona abruptly broke up with me back then, how could I accept it? Now that she's come back to me, of course I had to find her and ask her why. His eyes dimmed as he continued. I only just found out she was seriously ill and went abroad for treatment. She didn't want to drag me down. That's why. That day you saw me with Fiona, I was actually planning to formally reject her confession, but she brought Miranda along, and I could only smile and go along. I let out a cold laugh, cutting him off with biting sarcasm. Wow, what a touching love story. I support you not rejecting her. Accept her confession. Reunite with your true love. Chapter 8. No, it's not true love. He shook his head frantically, his reddened eyes fixed on me. It's you. I was just unwilling to let go. That's all. And when I heard her confession, I didn't feel happy, only a twisted sense of satisfaction. It hit me too late. I didn't just decide to marry you to settle down. I actually fell in love with you. But we've been fighting for over 10 years, trading barbs without thinking. I just. He blinked awkwardly, unable to go on. I stared at him coldly, suddenly feeling profoundly thankful for my decision to leave. Since you can't finish the sentence, let me do it for you. He looked up, panic flickering in his tear-rimmed eyes. I spoke slowly, evenly, without emotion. You've gotten used to confronting me, used to showing me your worst side, used to throwing the ugliest words at me without restraint. You've gotten used to competing with me over everything, even over who fell in love first. You always had to win, always had to make me bow my head first. When Fiona hurt you, you could run after her, lower your head, and demand answers for her. But when it's about me, the woman you claim to love, suddenly you can't lower your head? I know I'm no saint either. I've said plenty of harsh things to you. That's why people like us, with these combative personalities, are doomed not to be together. He completely panicked. The playful, mocking look he once had in his eyes was now full of pain. His voice was almost choked. I'm sorry, Jessica. I'm begging you. Give me another chance. Let's not divorce, all right? I'll court you all over again, okay? We don't have to fight like before. We can make it work. I sighed, feeling that the Bruno in front of me was a worn-out stranger. I spoke slowly. Do you even know me? He nodded earnestly. I do. That's why it's such a pity for us to separate like this. I shook my head, cutting him off. Looks like you still don't know me well enough. When Miranda instigated my parents to push me out, at first I was very sad. But when it happened over and over, I grew tired. I cut off 20+ years of family ties without hesitation. What's a 3-year sham marriage to me? If you really knew me, you wouldn't still be here begging. Sign the divorce papers. Let's not make it uglier than it already is. I didn't look at him again. I turned and went upstairs. That night I didn't know how late he stayed downstairs. All I knew was when my best friend came home from overtime at midnight, he was still there, eyes red, standing stubbornly. If he wanted to stand there, let him. I'd already made myself perfectly clear. In the days after, the downstairs finally became quiet. One day I received an invitation from Peking University, inviting me to attend my alma mater's centennial celebration. Ryan even called specially, testing the waters to invite me to go with him. I didn't refuse. The centennial celebration was a huge event. Even the oil painting I'd won a competition with back then was brought out for display. Ryan and I walked side by side through the alumni gallery. We finally stopped in front of my painting, a simple landscape of trees, flowers, a lake and white clouds. It had a very plain title, The Unnamed Lake of Peking University. In the lower right corner of the half-height canvas there was a touch of white. I pointed at it jokingly. When I painted this my sophomore year, there was this student who showed up at the lake at the exact same time every day. He always wore the same white shirt. I thought, why not just paint him in? Looking at it now, it actually works pretty well. Ryan nodded, his brows and eyes carrying a smile, with even a trace of relief mixed in. I froze for a moment. My best friend's words flashed through my mind, and I blurted out the question in my heart, is the person in the painting you? Chapter 9. Ryan froze. Then, under my astonished gaze, nodded. He hurriedly explained, I'm not a creep, and I'm not a stalker either. Seeing the way he stumbled over his explanation, I burst out laughing. I laughed until my body went soft. Half leaning on him, he studied me helplessly yet indulgently. When I'd laughed enough, I straightened up, blinked, and teased him. I never said you were a creep. You're so eager to explain. Did you do something else shady? I already know you've had a crush on me. His face turned completely embarrassed, his ears flushing red as his lips moved but no words came out. A sudden jolt hit my heart. No way. Come on, confess now and I'll go easy on you. Resist and it'll be worse. I only knew you were in the art department, so I used to study on the bench outside the studio just to see you. I remembered the university art exhibition and couldn't help asking. Then back when I was setting up the exhibition, was it you sneaking me meals every day? He paused, then nodded. Back then, with so many things piling up, I was run off my feet. By the time I was done, the cafeteria was always closed. But suddenly, starting one day, there was always a hot meal left at the exhibition hall door with my name on it. At the time I just had a fight with Bruno. I thought it was him trying to make up with me, delivering me dinner for a month straight. That night, Ryan and I sat on the grass at the school sports field, watching fireworks. Brilliant bursts lit up the sky. Amid the explosions, I asked him, why didn't you tell me about the love letter that day? It was my mistake. You waited a whole night for nothing. With the fireworks. His voice burst softly and tenderly in my ear. It's all right, honestly. Just being your shield already made me happy. Really. I didn't want the past to affect your judgment and choices. I just wanted you to see me based on who I am now. I turned to him. In the flickering light of the fireworks, I heard myself say, thank you. It must have been hard to love me in secret for so long. He paused, then smiled faintly, though his eyes still glistened with a touch of bitterness. I continued, but I think, maybe we really could give it a try. Those dark, deep eyes seemed to light up at once, spilling stars brighter than the fireworks. Ryan truly was a wonderful partner. Calm, always smiling at me, attentive to my feelings, remembering my likes, warming my heart like gently heated water. After that date, he drove me home. Just as I got out of the car, an uninvited guest appeared. Bruno's eyes were bruised dark, his hair messy, his shirt wrinkled, so different from his usual composed, carefree manner. It seemed he'd been having a rough time. When he saw me, he stepped closer and held out a diary to me. His voice was hoarse, choked. You loved me for more than 10 years. Why didn't you tell me? I glanced at the yellowed, old notebook. Apparently in my rush I'd forgotten to take it and destroy it. And he'd found it. If I hadn't found your diary, were you planning to hide it from me for life? His eyes were bloodshot, brimming with grievance. That diary was full of 10 years of my hidden feelings and thoughts about him. I said faintly, it's over. There's nothing left to hide. He still wouldn't give up. All those years of feelings, you can just throw them away like that? If last time Bruno had some excuse, this time he was already low-voiced and pleading. I thought for a moment and spoke calmly. I just suddenly felt that if I kept loving you, I'd be loving myself too little. Even if I knew we were just bickering, Your words always picked at my flaws, always hit my sore spots. Over time, I really began to think I was bad, that I was irritable, covered in thorns. After leaving you, I found out I could actually be soft, gentle. I'm doing very well now, and I'm with him now. I linked my fingers with Ryan's. You should move on too. I patted Bruno's shoulder, a gesture for an old enemy. Bruno walked away like a lost soul, still holding the diary. His whole being was cloaked in a gray despair. The next day, I received the divorce papers he sent. The Bruno who had tangled with my youth for more than 10 years formally walked out of my world. Late at night, Ryan caressed my hand tenderly, pressed a reverent kiss to it, his eyes sparkling. Jessica, I'm so happy. Thank you for choosing me. The cold pond in my heart rippled with a warm current. But, he murmured, I'm also curious about your other side. My face flushed. The next second, his lips brushed mine lightly. Testing, slowly deepening.